Hello and welcome to another video from the only channel that you need to not only survive the current apocalypse but actually enjoy it. And today's video is just going to be me doing a chore here at the house. I'm replacing a couple of lamps and trying to decide what I'm going to do with the lamps I'm getting rid of. And so here's the whole point of the story. You've seen that I got a new computer, a new camera, and since really expensive electronic gear has no place outdoors where I'm usually situated, I've set up this indoor facility in my library or living room, and that's where everything has to be. This big old computer is too heavy, cumbersome to be moving back and forth every time I want to do some work on it. So when I'm doing my video editing, this is where that's going to happen. As part of that, since I'm going to be in here, I have decided I'm cleaning this place up. So I've gone through and dusted everything. I went through all these books I got on the bookshelf and kind of threw out all the books that I have no intention of ever reading again. And I brought them to Goodwill. I didn't just throw them in the trash or burn them or anything. And as part of that, I have decided to replace a couple of lamps that have been here for about 20 years. Now these are really cool lamps. If you can see that. Yeah, this is like articulated. If you're sitting over here, you can just pull this down and put it behind your head so that you can see what you're reading, or you can put it. I've actually, when I'm shooting video in here, I'll take these things and just face them up so that it kind of forces the light into the ceiling where it's diffuse. So we're not getting glare or anything on the camera. But I decided to go ahead and replace this. So I've been kind of, everywhere I go, it's a yard sale, a regular store, Goodwill, Salvation Army, always got in my back of my head that I've got to find some replacement lamps for this room because I need light, but at the same time I don't want this ugly stuff. And I'll show you what I mean by ugly. This thing here, when I first purchased it, it had a mount that didn't last very long. And so what I did was I took a piece of pressure treated lumber and I cut it into this cool looking diamond shape, and I had intentions of painting it or something. I never did. But I screwed it on the wall and just drilled a big hole in the top. So this thing just has like a pivot axis on the bottom. I just shove that in here. And it works fine. It just doesn't look good. And I like, since I got everything else looking good, I figure I better make this look good. But then later on the switch stopped working. So I went down to Walmart or whatever and I bought a switch that doesn't match. It's the wrong color. And then the lampshade broke. And the lampshades on these are a lightweight plastic thing, and we were using regular incandescent bulbs for a long time. They're really hot. And so one day I just reached over and touched the lamp, and the shade just crumbled into dust because, all that heat dehydrates them, dries them out, breaks them up. So I got a fancy bulb. Now so far I've spent the time cutting out this piece of plywood, and I spent probably $5 or $3 at least on this switch, and probably $5 or $3 on this bulb. And we're talking about a $20 light fixture that I got 20 years ago. So I was at Goodwill the other day and I purchased some really cool lamps. Some hotel had donated like 100 lamps to Goodwill, and they're all different kinds, but they're all basically the same materials. Heavy duty brushed stainless steel with really nice lampshades and really heavy-duty commercial hardware, so the switches are never going to wear out, the cords are never going to fray. And so it was $10 for the tall lamps, and then they had desk lamps that were $4.99 and $9.99. That's the actual prices. And since I get a military discount, basically I got them for less than that because the discount is actually less than what the taxes would be. So I brought home 2 lamps, and I got here and I got to thinking, those were such good deals because we're talking about $100, $200 lamps. So the next day I ran back and most of those things had sold out. But I went there with the intention of getting a total of 8 lamps because I went around the house and I kind of did an inventory. And every $10, $15 lamp I had that was falling apart, I decided to replace. Well, I was only able to acquire 6 total. And so that's we're going to replace those 6. And immediately, one of the things I do when I got something junky and something good, I don't do anything with the junky stuff except throw it away or donate it to Goodwill if it's good enough to donate. And that was the plan. But I got to looking at these lamps and another lamp that was falling apart, needed replacing. and I thought I could make myself a lighting system for my videos, because it's kind of always a hassle. You know, I knew when I got my computer and my camera that I probably ought to go ahead and get a light. They got those big LED lights for studio lights for about $100. But I never did, and I wasn't going to, because it only takes me an extra 15 minutes or so to gather up a bunch of lights, and I'll show you what I mean. When you're shooting indoors, you can't really just shoot by the lights that you normally would use in your everyday life. So I found this one upstairs and dragged it down, and I've actually got a couple of my new lamps plugged in here. Yeah, there you go. See, we got a bunch of stuff dragged down here, and you know, the one hanging on the door is like a light you would use, work light, and then I've got all my regular lights on, and it's kind of a hassle. I think we're going to put together something today that's going to be pretty cool, and it'll store away out of the way, you know, because with these articulating arms I can fold all this up. But anyways, I'll show you all the stuff I've got and what I'm planning on doing with it. Now I've got a few things here. It's just junk that I haven't ever thrown away. And contrary to popular belief, I actually do throw stuff away. People say I never throw anything away. But I do hold on to things for way longer than I should before I finally make the decision to throw it away. Now a while back, I had a friend call, and she said she couldn't get her car out of the garage because her door was broken. So I went over, and this was one of the hinges that was on her garage door, and I don't know if you can see that, but it's cracked across here. I mean, that's the actual physical crack that I could break this with my hands if I wanted. But for whatever reason, I didn't throw it away, and in fact, I brought both of them home and was able to get her garage door to go up and down for another month or so before she finally had to have the garage door people come out and bring her another garage door. And I've got my regular case of screws and some washers. And the only thing I actually went and bought is this cable clamp, because I went down there asking for a U-bolt. And I went down there asking for a U-bolt, and they didn't have a U-bolt the size that I needed. So I bought this cable clamp, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. But first, you've already seen this lamp and this pivot on here. We're going to use this to bolt this lamp onto another lamp that I'm getting rid of. See, that's just going to act as a bracket. Now, this lamp was in our other room where we watch TV, and here's the plan. Take this cable clamp, bolt it to this, take this, and bolt it to that, which means I'm going to have to drill some bigger holes in here, so we'll go do that right now. So this is what we're going to do. I've taken this bracket. Now we're not going to bolt to the side that's broken on that one bracket, but we're going to bolt it to the good side. Now on this particular one, and these hinges are not identical, but this one has two holes right here, and just as happenstance would have it, they line up perfectly. So we only have to drill out these holes that are already pre-existing, and I think that's going to work out okay. Now on the other one, it's for whatever reason, it's a little bit different. And so we're just going to line up the good side with the hole that's already there, and then drill out this area right here, and we'll mark that with a Sharpie. It allows us to see exactly where we want our hole. Now this is not industrial grade by any means, but these lamps are not that heavy. There's not going to be that much stress that it could tear this. See, this is going to kind of be a weak hole here because it takes it right near the edge, and then down here we're kind of drilling sideways into a slot. But if I can do it without tearing it all up, it's going to be okay. What I'm going to be using is actually called a Unibit, and they're pretty expensive, but you can get them at Harbor Freight pretty cheap, and the ones at Harbor Freight are just as good as any you'd get anywhere else. That's a Unibit. And it doesn't drill a hole, it widens a pre-existing hole. Trouble in the chicken house. Try to do this without hurting myself. as you can see, our hole came out quite nice. Fits. So now we're going to go ahead and mark a location for our other hole, I guess. We're going to use a punch and a claw hammer. You're supposed to use a ball peen hammer for this. There we go. Now we got a little mark on there. We should be able to drill without the drill jumping all over the place. If you try to drill through metal without marking it first with a punch, your work is going to be jumping all over the place for your drill. So it's just a way to make sure you stay about in the right place. Oh, and as always, use some kind of spacer, otherwise you're going to be putting a hole in your handrail or whatever you're drilling on. Still a little ways to go because we're just off of our center. I'm not going to go up in the. I'm not going to come up here in the top to do any more drilling because this is kind of getting thin around here. So we're just going to keep working it down at this bottom. And like I say, we're going to be putting pressure going that way so it'll cut in that direction and not get caught up in that groove. Especially since that's the direction we got to go. And this bit is going to work to center itself in the hole. And this bit is going to work to center its way in the hole, and since there's already a hole here, the centering is going to actually pull it that way. So we're going to have to manipulate it to get it to go the other way. Right, that's as good as I'm going to go because I don't want to drill any more than I absolutely have to. As long as it'll go through, everything's going to work out. Just a helpful hint for anybody that's thinking about doing any kind of project like this, and not necessarily even with this kind of a project or looking for this kind of hardware, but anytime you have to look for any kind of hardware, when you go off to wherever, you're going to want to make sure that you don't waste a trip. So you're going to go there and get what you need and bring it back and not have to make multiple trips. So you're going to bring something with you to make sure that you're getting something what's the right size for your project. Now, I knew that I was going to clamp on to this light fixture, and as you can see from my hardware, I did a good job. It fits. The way I accomplished that was by simply going into my toolbox. See, I used to own a caliper, and I know it's in there somewhere, but the tool room is a real mess right now. So, and a caliper is just a thing that measures size. So, what I did was I took a set of wrenches, and I just took them one by one until I found the one that fits. Remember, we're not going to use this wrench to work on this lamp. We're simply using it to judge the size of the lamp. In particular, this stand shaft. At 15 millimeters, we're pretty close. And there you have it. So now we've got this. We could simply take this down and compare it, but to make it just a little bit easier, we're going to put it on some sockets. A little too big. Just right. And in fact, this is slightly loose, but this was also slightly loose on the lamp. So we're going to take this to the hardware store and compare it to all the U-bolts they got, or as in this case, cable clamp. Perfect. Let me kind of imagine in my head how this is all going to go together. Yeah, probably I need to be down here on the bottom end of this, which means, let's see, I don't want to have that like that. Yeah, they do it like this. Okay. Well, first thing we're going to do is put the clamp on. Then we get all our other gadgets lined up. You know, this is probably going to work because the axis of this rig I'm putting on here is not in alignment with this shaft, so probably the... Let's see if I can get this exactly right. Yeah, probably those articulated arms are not going to run into that or into each other, so I may actually be able to oh yeah, that's going to work out good. I may be actually able to open and close them all the way. Okay, just to make things tight as they can be, I'm going to go ahead and put some bolts on here. Hey, that's pretty cool. I'm going to go spray a little Walmart lubricant on these lamp shafts. And I'm not going to do that in here because I don't want to get this stuff all over the place. Kind of glad I didn't throw these old hinges away. The garage door hinge is not something that would normally come in handy. I actually kept them for making, you know, if I had to add a door to a chicken coop or something. All right, there we go. Oh, look at that. It just, look how that folds away. Better make sure I got this on tape. Yeah, that's working out good. Turn our lights that way. Check it out. Oh yeah, and that's going to fold away, and I'll have just a very simple solution to lighting up anything I do indoors. Now don't suggest me getting a patent on this, because I think my friend over on YouTube channel BC Truck, I think he actually patented the entire concept of reusing stuff. So even if he hasn't done this particular project before, he could probably sue me for copyright infringements or something. By the way, I'll leave a link to BC Truck's channel because he does some really cool stuff over there. He's kind of one of my mentors for being sustenance and covering. Now, I do not have a glass shade or globe or whatever to demonstrate this, but this is a floodlight, and I actually thought initially that I might put floodlights on here, and I will because I've got other floodlights. But here we go, just so you can see. This is a big heavy-duty floodlight, and you see it won't hold it up. So that's not going to work. Now, something I did when the lampshade initially broke up is I took a milk jug and I cut a hole in it, and it looked really cool because it had handles on it. So I had these milk jugs with a bottom cut out and a light bulb in. And I don't know if you can see it, but that black plastic or white plastic on there is milk jug, because this got so hot it melted the milk jug. Now over time, what may happen is I may actually hardwire all of these cords into a single extension cord, because every now and then you'll break an extension cord or something, and you'll end up with a long end with either the male or female outlet on it, or receptacle. So if that happens, then of course I'll hardwire all together and figure out some way of hanging a cable on here. For right now, I'm just going to plug all this stuff up and see how much light I'm making. And there's one. And since this is basically the only room I'm going to be using, and there's this 4 outlet box over here. Yeah, let's see here. Oh yeah, this is going to handle all of my lighting needs. What a cool thing. Oh yeah, life is good. The old sustenance and covering studio is really coming together now. Alright, so how's the light look from where you're at? From where I'm looking in the viewfinder, it looks pretty good. Of course, where I've got it plugged in is the light is way over there, and it wouldn't take much for me to just get one of those little extension cord things and bring the light another 10 feet closer and get a lot more on the subject, or I could get brighter bulbs. But in any case, this is really working for me. You know, while I've got all this running, I'm going to give you just a really quick tour of the sustenance and covering studio, because this is kind of all new to me. I normally do everything outdoors, but this space is so nice now that I may actually spend more time in here. There's where I was just sitting, and here's my brand new professional looking lighting system. And my sofa with my kitty cat's bed on. It's got a dog bone on there, but that's actually where the kitty cat likes to sit. Now, a lot of this junk that's on the walls, I say junk, is just really cool stuff that was in my uncle's house. And I remember when I was 6 or 7 years old going over there and seeing this stuff. My uncle just died about 6 months ago, and so I ended up keeping a lot of this stuff. If you look on the shelves, all of that maritime sailor type stuff, that was in his house. Those brass sailboats and little brass crab and the brass dolphins, all of that kind of stuff. And even down here, I remember this little knight centurion. I remember seeing 2 of these, like bookmarks, and somebody broke into his house a couple of years ago and they stole one of them and left the other, which is quite puzzling. The lady standing next to him was my mama's friend Mickey. She died, and my mom was hauling a whole bunch of this stuff to Goodwill, and I grabbed that out of there. But this is the studio. We got a lot of homemade wine over here, and then pictures of all my relatives that were in the military. I don't know why I put that together, but it just seemed like the thing to do. I had the frames and I had the pictures. There's my computer. Along with the speakers and a couple of keyboards, my new lamp, a little grandfather clock back there, and a vacuum cleaner, and my other new lamp. It's a floor model, and I guess that's pretty much it. Here's the books. I'll scan them, hopefully. If you want to see what kind of stuff I read, you can go back and pause this. But it's all just like prepper stuff and Bible stuff and a little bit of stuff that's just for reading. Got everything kind of divided up. This up here on the left is games, how to play games, and then there's different things having to do with languages, things to do with working with string, line, rope. And these are my wife's cookbooks. These are for, all of this stuff is identifying trees and plants and animals. These are some books about gardening. And over here is some more, like, I guess, how to provide structures and power for your structures. Same down here. Can't remember where I got all these popular mechanic things, and I was going to throw them away or, you know, donate them, but they're kind of cool. Sometimes I'll just pick one up and read it. There's my uncle's crab. My wife's gnomes and little light up houses. When we put all our Christmas stuff away, I kind of just shoved that there because I thought it was cool looking. She had that all around the bottom of her Christmas tree. Oh, there's my teddy bear from when I was like 3 weeks old. He's in bad shape, but he's a classic. I've thought about buying a new one just to have it, but you know, I don't need that. This is the one I held. That's the only one I need. Okay, here's the cord leading from my camera to my audio recorder. And here's this video actually being edited. So this screen is hooked up to that computer. This laptop sits there for doing research. And the only reason I have this other screen is because when my wife saw my rig for holding all my stuff together, she said she wanted one. So I got it for her. And I actually had the screen, I had the cable and everything. But when I put it up, she said that it was blocking her view of the TV. And then when she pushed it aside, it was blocking her view of me. So she didn't want it. She said it was too cluttered. So rather than put this in storage somewhere, I just hung it on my stand. Okay, now I'm going to show you some special features of this really cool studio light that I just invented. When it's pointed right at you, that's going to cause problems. And I don't know of any situation where I would be shooting video and doing that except for to demonstrate this. But there are times when you want to have a little bit more subdued lighting. And I can do like I was talking about, point those away. The same thing is true of this. You know, this is obviously already doing its thing. But these covers were not on this lamp when I got it. I had identical covers, but they cracked up and fell all to pieces because we were using incandescent bulbs instead of these really cool LED bulbs, which is what I'm going to end up putting in everything around here eventually. But I was going down the street one day and I saw this exact same lamp, just a different color, laying on the side of the road in a pile of trash. So I got out and it looked like it was in perfect condition. All these were still nice and soft and everything was smooth and shiny. But when I picked it up, I knew something was wrong. The base of these things has to be heavy to keep this thing from wobbling and falling over. And there's something in there that's like halfway between concrete and plaster of Paris. And the one that I found on the side of the road had the base all broke up in it. So it was too lightweight. It wouldn't hold itself up, but not a big deal. I just got the lampshades off and put them on this light and threw all the rest of that stuff away. But, you know, it's just it's one of them things. It got me through the last 20 years without having to buy another one. And look at it now. I mean, this is a really cool rig. Out of the way. And as always, if you don't want to survive, don't listen to me.